Okay, hi everyone. My name is Karl Monaghan. I'm one of the founders of Pelvic Pain Matters. I'm joined and the clinical director of the Pelvic Pain Clinic. I'm joined today by Will. Will is a former patient of mine, and Will has very, very kindly agreed to share his story, give a little bit of insight and background as to his symptoms and some advice for those of you who are going through pelvic pain at the moment. So Will, thank you once again for joining us. Can you give us a little bit about the background of your symptoms, when it began, what kind of symptoms you were experiencing? Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Carl. So my symptoms sort of kicked in when I was having a very stressful period of my life. It was during COVID, going through the process of buying a house. If anyone was buying a house during COVID, it was quite difficult because the banks were all working from home, etc. So the process was very slow. And I probably felt like, looking back, I had a period of stress levels that kind of just carried on for about 3 months. So it was kind of a constant stress period. And it was only after we completed buying the house that then the symptoms kicked in. I guess it was the sudden kind of release of being able to, that stress to drop, but then the pelvic pain sort of started to kick in effectively. And the symptoms I had were predominantly around the prostatitis area. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Will. And your symptoms were, I know they affected you sitting. Can you tell us a little bit more around how your symptoms were affecting you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I would say they were affecting me massively. I guess there's one of the key ones was actually probably exercise and not sitting down at all. I think I spent a period of 9 months where I was not actually sitting at all. Sofa, lying, and working from a stand-up desk. So that was quite hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not sitting for 9 months, and that's not just an impact at work, is it? Home or commuting, the idea of going somewhere. I know this was earlier in 2021 where not much was open, but when things did open up, how much did that influence you? How much did that impact you on a day-to-day?
Yeah, massively so. I mean, in a way, I had a period where nothing was going on in the world, so that kind of made it easier, I guess, for me. But then I guess once life started to open up again, just simple things like sort of going to the pub became quite a difficult thing, and always being so wary of that. Traveling, it impacted me in a big way, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And if just the location where you were getting your symptoms, if that's okay. So the perineum was a location you were getting your symptoms?
Yeah, predominantly in the perineum. I think at stages as well, it started to come around the abdominal area. And those were kind of my main two areas. But I think it was the perineum area, which was just a constant kind of pain that was always there from the moment I kind of woke up to when I went to sleep. But it did move around a little bit. As the sort of process of recovery was going through, I guess. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. If I were to ask you what you felt the 3 cornerstones of your recovery were, if there were 3 steps or 3 things that you did or 3 changes that you implemented, what 3 things do you think in your particular case were really telling and allowed you to turn around the corner?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, I was pursuing a journey of bacterial prostatitis for a long time. And I think that was one thing that kind of probably slowed my recovery down. And obviously sort of, living in London, I was lucky enough to kind of go to some very good urologists effectively and kind of take advice. When you're there present, you're kind of, you're in a smart building, and everything they say you take for gospel to a certain extent. And I think, I was in that process for a good 6 months. And I think as soon as I kind of accepted that it wasn't bacterial prostatitis, I think the best advice I got from a urologist was actually bacteria is quite common down there, and to find search hard there for bacteria. It's just quite a common area. It's not your cleanest part of your body, is it, from an organ perspective at all? So I think that was one of the key aspects of kind of letting go that, that wasn't the cause of my symptoms. And then in terms of other key features, I think I got so trapped into online forums and blogs and all the different parts of advice that was kind of online, but I guess not credible to a certain extent. You're obviously looking for other people in your situation, and there's a lot of stuff written online. And looking back at that now, it's kind of like I can see why I got sucked into it, because it's something comforting about seeing where other people are. But then when you realize that how the internet works is that once you're only writing on there when you're actually ill, effectively, and the content there online is predominantly very kind of sad and not motivational or convincing that you will ever get better, effectively. But that's just important to remember, I guess, that that's only the people writing there and the time, and there's a lot of those people that have probably recovered, but there hasn't been sort of follow-up because they've lost interest in the subject, I guess, to a certain extent. So that'll be a number two. And I think the third is that it's a journey of recovery, and it's important to find the right people to find the way forward, effectively. So finding yourself, Karl, was great. You were kind of my sat nav of journey recovery, and without you I wouldn't have found that way forward. It would have taken me a lot longer, I'm sure.
That's very kind of you to say so, Will. Thank you very much. I get the easy job. As you say, I am the sat nav. You have to do the driving. Yeah. You have to navigate the world and the roads and other pedestrians and other cars as well. Yeah. So your three cornerstones for recovery then is looking beyond antibiotics and the bacterial component of the cause of pain. It's difficult, isn't it? It can almost become addictive, checking in online, seeing what other people are writing, seeing if there's the latest cure, if there's a silver bullet. And as you say, often people only post when they're feeling desperate, or check in on when they're feeling desperate. They don't always follow through and carry through and offer the balance to the argument. So I'm really grateful for you to do this today and to allow that balance. Yeah. And then the third one was finding a team to work with, finding a light at the end of the tunnel, if you like, finding some good knowledge to get you out of where you were. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much. And we took you through things like graded exposure. I encouraged you to sit, albeit slowly. I encouraged you to sit in a variety of different ways, in different seats. We got you, I remember saying about getting on the tube and saying, right, I want you to go one stop on the tube sitting down, and then two stops on the tube sitting down. We got you a little bit more active. We got you doing some running and out doing more and more activity. You did get some internal work done, and that also helped. I believe Jenny Constable, I think, was the therapist that helped you along that side, that aspect.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that was it. That was really helpful. I think that part of the process, along with doing everything else, it's putting multiple tools together to get the end result effectively. So yeah, it certainly helped.
Absolutely. There was a small adjustment in terms of diet and things that may be inflammatory that we adapted and changed so there'd be less inflammatory for you as well. So there were just a little snapshot of things that you adapted and changed and implemented yourself. What would you say, Will, to anyone who is in the middle of pelvic pain right now?
Yeah, I mean, my advice to you and sort of message to you is, it's from my memory of what it was like, it was a real mental battle, and it becomes very draining on you as a person, and for so many times it's so difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I can really appreciate how that feels, but you just must have faith in that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that there is a journey of recovery, and it's just keep going and the light will come eventually.
Yeah, and really key message there. It can feel like the darkness is all around us. And if we create the right environment for our bodies to heal and recover there, and we give it time and space, then it can absolutely recover. Final thing, Will, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself at the start of your journey? So if you can reflect on that and maybe give a message or something that you might then have taken on board at the start of your journey.
Yeah, I think of looking back, going back to the beginning of the journey, it was scary. And I guess at the beginning, you're like, oh, I'm going to be fine. But then as the time went on, you get more and more worried. Yeah, looking back, I would have just said to myself that, you know, we're resilient human beings, aren't we? And animals, and our bodies, our minds are very smart. They do find a way forward to recover effectively, and have faith in the pelvic pain specialists. And yeah, it's kind of quite sad, I guess, looking back to a certain extent of how much confidence I lost during that journey, when I shouldn't have and didn't need to. But life, yeah, I guess, has lots of learning curves, and I'll always look back on it as a journey of growth to a certain extent, because what doesn't break you makes you.
Lovely message there. Really powerful words, Will. Thank you so much once again. It's been a pleasure catching up. It was a real joy working with you. Thank you for taking on board all the advice, and look where you are right now. So it's been as you said, it's been a journey of discovery.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Karl, for all your efforts along the way. It was a real pleasure kind of having you by my side through the time. So yeah.
That's very kind. Thank you very much, Will. Speak again soon. Take care.
Take care.